free trial, and I want us to use it in the 3 or 4 weeks to just use it to run our data. Yeah, we are going to use the 3 or 4 weeks to run our data. And within that period, if you have to make some changes to your work, you have the opportunity to do that. And then we get the best results out of your data. And then we move on to do the final analysis. And the final analysis I'm talking about the interpretation and discussion. Probably once we are done with that, that's the final part, and then we will prepare ourselves to submit our papers to journals. So one thing I want everybody to do is that please start looking for journals based on your topic. Help me, because I can do that for you, but I think it's going to be too much work. Since many of you have been on this work for some time, you know journals that suit your topic. So do your best to look for journals. And when I say journals, look for good journals. Don't search for some journals which are not good. I mean, don't search for journals which are not good. So the minimum that all of you here you should search for is minimum. I'm saying minimum is Q2. Q2 is that's B star. Solomon. Is Solomon here?
Yes,
yeah,
bro,
so the minimum.
I'm here.
Yes. So the minimum is B star. Yeah, I hope you are fine.
Yeah, I'm doing well, Prof.
Okay, great. So the minimum, you're welcome. The minimum should be B star, which I think, yeah, B star is the same as, sorry, B, I mean, in terms of business. And so if you don't understand what is the meaning of A star, A, B, journals, you can just do a search. Okay, please, nobody should target what we call predatory journals. And when I say predatory journals, I'm talking about some journals that you don't know their impact factor, you don't know what they stand for, and all that. Don't look for such journals. So this is what we call the A star, A, B, C. If you want to read more about it, because it's not something I'm going to do today, it is your responsibility to sit down and do this. Look for a good journal. And as I always do, and I want to explain this to everyone, every article that is going to be is being written, is being written or we are putting together, you are the first author. In fact, I will try as much as possible to make sure you are the corresponding author as well. Let me explain it so that you understand. Okay, so over the years, I've done some work with some people, and some people have complained about how they do all the work, they write the articles, and their professors or their supervisors put their names first. And sometimes they put their names last. Or sometimes they don't even put their names on the article. So I want to say and assure everyone that that's not what I do, that's what we do here. If you write an article with me, you are the article is for you. If anybody is going to be on that article, that person or the other persons who are going to be there on the article, they will come after you. The article is for you. Anybody who is going to be on it, they will come after you, not the other way around. Not that you will be the last, and then other people will take first and second position, and you will be the last. That's not what we do here. So take note, because even this week I had a conversation with someone, or I would say not too long ago, I had a conversation with someone where that discussion came up. Okay, so I want to assure everyone, take note, because I know certain institutions in Ghana, especially in Ghana, let me hammer on this, especially in Ghana, certain institutions in Ghana, professors, you do all the work, but the professors put your name last, or they don't even put your name. They take your paper, publish it, and your name doesn't even appear on it. But here, that's not what I do. That's not what we do here. Every article is for you. And that's the reason why from the beginning, I've always been saying that whatever you are doing is for you. It's not for me. So if you do it good, if you do it right, it's for you. If you don't do it right, it's also for you. Okay, so that's what I want to say. So, and I've been doing this over and over and over and over again. Yeah. I've been doing this over and over and over. Personally, I don't mind where my name will be on the paper. Yeah, so so nobody should panic, or nobody should be like, okay, after all these things, like we are working for him. He will take over the paper and put our names last, and he will be first, and he will be the first all the time. No, that's not what I do. That's not what we do here. Here, I make sure once you write the article is for you, and it's forever yours. Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to let you know this. Yeah, because I know it's a heated issue, heated debate back in, especially in Ghana. Let me hammer on Ghana. So that's where we are all coming from, or that's where we are. Because I want to hammer on this. Yeah, because some people have this kind of mindset that maybe all this work that we are doing is like we are working for him. Like you are working for me. At the end of the day, I'll take over the paper, publish it. Maybe I'll not put your name on it. Or even if I'll put your name on it, I'll put your name last or something. You know, people have all these things, but that's not what I do. And over the years, that's not what I have done. I make sure that where you deserve to be, I put you there. Yeah, but and especially in this case where all of you have done individual work. So if putting the paper together, you want to invite somebody and ask somebody on the paper, it's up to you. Like for example, maybe when you are about to submit the paper, and there's somebody that maybe help you in writing parts of the paper or collected data, or this something, and you want to put a person on the paper, it's up to you. But to me, some time ago, I explained this to some students. If you are going to put somebody on the paper, it shouldn't also be a random person who is also just sitting somewhere who has not done nothing. That one I will not agree. Because if you are just there like, oh, I have a brother who lives in Kumasi, I want to add him to my paper. Please, I will not allow that. Anybody who's going to be on your paper, you have to show that the person did something. Either the person helped in data collection or did analysis or something. That's for that one there, I will not allow. Because over the years, what I've also seen is that some people also try to they try to be freeloaders. I hope you know the word freeloaders or free riders. You do all the work, you do all the monkeys the work, but baboons the chop, as they say it. So some people do all the donkey job, and then some people just and sometimes some of our even, I'm sorry to say this, but some of our professors back in Ghana, they do this. They go and bring all their friends, some in Ghana, some outside in Ghana, they put them on papers. And those people, they have not done anything. I think to me, That's my personal opinion. I think it's not right. If somebody is going to be on the paper, the person must show, or you must be able to show that the person did something. At least the person did some review, revised the paper, read the paper, edited the paper, contributed to the paper. That is how it's supposed to be. Not just somebody random person sitting somewhere. He just said, "Oh, I want to add my sister to the paper. I want to add my uncle to the paper. I want to add my something to the paper." That's okay. I mean that's what. Yeah, I mean if it is your own paper that you put together, not here. But if it's your own paper that you want to do that, I don't have any problem with that. That's up to you. But I'm talking about as far as this work is concerned. To me, I think it is, to me, that's my personal opinion. Over the years, I think many people are free riders and freeloaders. Yeah, many people sit down to do a lot of work and they don't do anything, and people just put them on papers. And some use them to seek for jobs, promotions, and other things, whilst others are spending sleepless nights working their AS up. So let's be fair. It has nothing to do with maybe you're not trying to help anybody, but it has everything to be fairness. That's what I believe in. Yeah. So that's my point. So everybody take note of that. And I hope we are all going to be fine. Yeah. So it's not like maybe personal, like maybe hey, you have something against this person. Why is that you're not adding somebody? But it has everything to do with making sure that people who deserve it are on the paper. That's it. Because hey, some of you have worked hard. You are working hard right now. You are spending sleepless nights. You don't sleep much. You know, upon all these things, somebody will just take your paper, go and publish it somewhere. It's not fair. Or maybe if you disagree with me, you can say it. It's not fair for you for all these years hard work that you have done. Your paper, somebody will just steal the paper, go and publish it somewhere, and the person will not add your name. It doesn't show academic integrity and fairness. Yeah, so let's all try to me, if there's someone who is helping in terms of supporting you, reviewing the paper, editing, doing all these things, and you want to add a person to the paper, I don't have any problem with that. That's a good idea. But somebody will not do anything and then you just get up and then put the person on the paper. Let's be honest, it's not fair. It's not fair to the people who have spent sleepless nights. Yeah, sleepless nights to work so hard. Anyway, that's my opinion and my position. People can tend to disagree, but to me, over the years, to me, that's how I see it. I believe it shows some form of fairness. You are not treating people right with that. Okay, I'll let you come in, Thomas, but let me explain this and then I'll let you come in. So please, the A star and then the B star, to summarize the whole text, to summarize everything, what I want to say is that if you want to take an article, look for articles from Elsevier. I've just given you the publishing where you can get other journals, select journals for your publication. These publishing sites, you can find articles there. Okay, so for example, if you go to Elsevier, you can use their journal finder, what they call journal finder. Based on your topic, you can search. If you put your topic in, okay, if you paste either your abstract or your title or something, you can just put it here and search for journals. Okay. So if, for example, my question is share intelligence for electric vehicle, if for example this is what I'm researching into, I put my listen here, it will give me journals, right? Give me journals. So you can use the journal finder. The same thing that Elsevier. So Elsevier is one of the good ones that you have to use. Then you can also use Springer. Okay. So Springer too, you can also use their journal finder to help you to just search, give you journals. That's Springer. Apart from Springer, you can also look up to what we call Emerald. Emerald has recently been acquired or purchased by Wiley. So Journal Finder for Emerald too is also one of the good publishing organization. And then you can also go for Wiley. Wiley is also one of them. So this is Wiley. They normally come. And then we have Sage. Sage 2. Can you see Sage 2? This is how their logo come. See this S, Sage. And then you can also use what we call Taylor and Francis. Taylor and Francis too. These are good general publications. Yeah, but the reason why I will not let people try MDPI, because almost all MDPI journals, it's like I would say almost all of them, you have to pay, and I don't think any of you have the money to be paying about 2,300 Swiss franc. Is it Swiss or CFA franc? One of them. And it's a lot of money. I don't think you'll be able to pay for any of the MDPI. So MDPI for now, I would not say anybody should consider, but you can consider all the ones that I showed you: Elsevier, Emerald, Sage, Taylor and Francis, Wiley. Bring that. Consider these things and find a good journal. Once you find a good journal, look for the one which is suitable. You can contact me. We can discuss it. Okay, just ask me. We can talk about it, about the journal. But how is your paper going to be accepted and published? Two things. When you go to any of the journals, so for example, if you select a CV, let's say you select something like Journal of Cleaner Production, where I am one of I work for them. I work for Journal of Cleaner Production. So if you take Journal of Cleaner Production, for example, and you want to submit an article there, they have something that they call the author guidelines. Let me see. Yeah, guide for authors. In other words, like if you want to prepare your article, what do you look up to? What do you have to check? So just go through that, and it will give you an idea. If in case you need assistance, you can contact me, because I think for now almost there's no publishing site where I have not submitted an article. So I almost like I know every publishing site, their author guidelines. Yeah, so check this out. It will give you an idea about how to put together the article, like the number of words, for example, say 6,000 to 8,000 words, right? In fact, what I know is that many journals nowadays prefer between 6,000 to 8,000 words. Majority prefer 6,000 to 8,000 words, maximum 9,000 words, extremely 10,000 words. Extreme, if going extreme, 10,000. But the issue is not just about the 10,000 words or the 6,000 or 4,000 or whatever, but the most important thing is the content. I've always been telling students about this. The content. What is the content? The content means if I take your article and I start reading it, what is in there? Is the flow? Is it flowing well? Is your article making sense? Or yeah, these are the things that reviewers and editors look at. So it's not about 6,000 words, not about 7,000 words, not about 8,000, but it's about what is in your article. Good article. Okay, so I want you to look at this. Sharon, please, your feedback, I'll send it today. I started reading your things and I couldn't finish all because there are so many things. Yeah, but I'll send them today, but I've sent the other ones. Is Sharon here?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, okay. So please do your best too. Is Debbie also here today? Because I sent some comments and I wanted him to be here to see what will be done to change some sections of her work. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, that's what I want everybody to do. So look for journals and start doing it now based on your topic. So I know somebody whose topic is about nature-based solutions, somebody like Eugenia, about coastal something. For your studies, good you look for some of these marine, settlement, urban infrastructure, marine, coastal, So your topic of the journal that you select must also go with your topic in the area of study. So if your area is construction management, it is preferable that you look for a journal which is construction management related to your topic. If yours is business, look for an article which is business. If yours is climate change, it should be climate change. So all these things must be considered. That's why I want everybody to start now, because there are a lot of things that we consider apart from just searching on these websites and getting to know the journals available. You need to also look at so many things. Let me take somebody like Solomon. Solomon, your topic is more finance. And with finance, with your area, it is preferable, or it is better that you look for something which is related to what your supervisors and your professors are going to be happy with you. Or what is going to help you yourself, not even your professors. What will help? What's going to help you? So everyone, look for journals. If you need guidance, I think what many of you are not doing of late is you are not engaging. I think you are so busy. Yeah, try and engage. Let's stop. Yeah, if you send me a message, definitely I will reply. Yeah. So do your best. If you have a question, ask and get a good journal for your work. Okay, let's move on for the sake of time. So that's the work that I want everybody to do, please. For the sake of time, let's do this quickly and then move on. So I'm going to use this by article to help you. The article has been designed in such a way that it was written as a full article. And because we are writing a paper which is not a theoretical framework, conceptual framework in nature, I don't want people to follow exactly this in your work, but rather we are going to just take a portion of it, and that is the theoretical or the conceptual framework portion, which is section 3. This is a paper I put together some time ago. Okay, so without wasting time, I'll take you through this, and I can see many of you are struggling with this. So the first part is, if you take your topic, so everybody put this thing down, go back and look at your topic again. Just look at the topic, and then extract the key concepts. The key concepts. The key concepts. The key concepts here are also called the key variables. Now, if you go back and take this article, if I take this topic, is financial risk. Financial risk is one of them. Another thing that you can see here is financial success or financial performance. Another concept that you can see is the PPP. So these are the things that, at least, from the beginning, before I look at other things. So you can see financial risk featuring in the conceptual framework. So the word financial risk is featured here. Good. So apart from looking at your topic, also look at your objectives. Your objectives, your research questions, or your research purpose, which is the same as your research goal. Why am I saying this? Let me show you this. If you look at this article, I mentioned that the aim of this paper is to present a theoretical framework with the relationship between 3 constructs. Okay, well, here I mentioned that, but yeah, so the aim was to present the financial risk management, financial controls, and financial performance of PPP. Right? So 1, look up to your topic. 2, look up to your research aim, objective, research questions. When you combine all these things, extract the key construct. Extract the key construct. Extract the key construct. The key construct, I mean the key variables. Okay, extract the key variables. So once again, look up to your topic, your research goal, your research objectives, your research questions. Extract the key variables. Once you extract the key variables, the next question is, what are the relationships between them? That's where you start asking yourself questions. Let me see. You start asking yourself questions. What is the relationship? How do they relate? Is there any relationship between them? Okay, so to me, personally, anytime I'm doing this, I first do my own, like I draw my own thing before later on I make changes to them. Like I just have my conceptual map or conceptual diagram before later, based on the existing literature, then I make changes to them. So how do you go about it? Okay, so let me say this, or let me put this one here. So we have something like financial controls. It's one of the concepts, financial risk. Another one, financial performance. Another. Maybe if you have more, you can put them down. But these were my key variables. And these key variables, they are called constants. They're also called the latent variable. So yeah, take note of the terms. And if you have a question, you can ask me. The key variables which underlie your study that you are investigating into, they are called the construct of the latent variables. So these are the ones that you try to create relationships between them. So how do you create that relationship? Now you come to this part. Two things. You can decide to use, so if you decide to use rectangle, use rectangle throughout. If you decide to use circles, use circles throughout. If you decide to use what's the name? Squares, use squares throughout. If you decide to use triangles, use triangles throughout. For example, like Thomas, I saw your diagram and then you have some of the diagrams are hexagon, others are pentagon, others are rectangle. It's not done that way. You have to use one. I'll show you when you can introduce other shapes. I'll show you very soon. So here I'm going to use rectangle. I've chosen to use rectangle. Is a rectangle that I said. So go to insert, you click on shapes, you click on this. So everybody pay attention and do this carefully. Yeah. There are other tools or other platforms that you can use to do this, but because many of you don't have access to them, I don't want to bother you. I just want to show you from Word. Okay. But the other platforms, like we have MS Visio, you can use Canva, but if you don't have access, which I think some of you don't have access to, you can use your normal MS Word. That's why I'm taking my time to show you this. Okay, so here I have this. So maybe I will let financial controls or financial risk represent this one, right? And then I'll also do the same for the remaining two. I'll do the same. So please, it's based on the kind of relationship that you want. I don't want to say it's supposed to be exactly what I'm doing, but it depends on the kind of the relationship that you are expecting that they will exist between them based on, once again, your topic and research objectives. Based on your topic and your research objectives, I want to hammer on this again, because you're not always going to have this. And I'll come back to address the issue of dependent and independent variables in structural equation modeling. It's not compulsory that we must always have dependent and independent variables. Yeah, because structural equation modeling, even though dependent and independent variables are important, but it's not something that we strictly hammer on it, that you should also always have dependent and independent variables. You are not running a normal regression where strictly you must always say this is independent and independent variables. Yes, it is good to put them there, but it's not strictly, because you can decide to let them be silent. And I mean, once people see where the arrows are going, people can determine whether they are dependent or independent variables and so forth. Okay, so something like this. So in this case, you see, I have how many? Performance. So now you think, personally, you the researcher, that's why you need to sit down and think about the relationship that you are expecting. Because I cannot tell you that your relationship will be A or B or C. So here, I'm just using this as an example here. I want to look at the relationship between financial risk and financial performance. So definitely, all things being equal, financial risk will flow into financial performance. The same thing also applies to financial controls will flow into financial performance. In other words, my financial performance will be my dependent variable. Dependent variable in this context means at the end of the day, where the where the destination will be. In other words, somebody will say that the bus stop, the end point, something like that. But I'm just using pedestrian language, but it doesn't know how it's supposed to be. Like the bus stop, like the end point, like where the whole thing will end. Is performance. I want to know how controls have impact on performance, how risk have impact on performance. So what do I do? So I need to show. I don't need, you don't have to only talk about it, but you have to also show. So I'm going to use the arrows. So you click on arrows and you link. Okay, before I go to the arrows, well, let me show one, but I'll come back to. Let me show one, but I'll come back to make changes. I want to put their names there. So you click on this, you add test. Here I want to say this box is for financial performance. This box it's financial controls or financial risk, you know them, whatever controls. Okay, there's financial controls. And this box is for financial risk. Okay, so I have this, I have that. So I'm showing the relationship. So first I've shown this relationship, that there's a relationship that exists between financial controls and financial performance. And that relationship is being shown by the arrow. I'll later on explain what the arrow the arrow is. The arrow is what, there's a name for it, but I will later on use it. Then I'll also show another relationship between financial risk and financial performance. And once again, please show where the arrow is going, because the pointer or the end point of the arrow will show which one is influencing the other. Okay, so I have this. Now I can also show the relationship between financial risk and financial controls. Good. I can just put it to this side. Okay, probably like this. This one will be better. So conceptually, even before you go into the literature, this is what you have. You can always modify this, because sometimes when you start and you put these relationships here, when you go back to read the literature, it may be opposite. Maybe probably financial controls rather have impact on financial risk, and therefore the arrow must change. Okay, so here, for example, if I go back to read the literature, and the literature is telling me that rather it's financial controls that have impact on financial risk, I have to come back and revise my notes by changing the direction of the arrow. So I'll have to change. It's rather financial controls that influence, have impact on financial risk, not the other way around. But the other way around can also work. Financial risk can also have impact on financial controls as well. So once again, it comes down to your understanding based on your topic, your research objectives, and the literature that you have read. When I say literature, how wide you have read, they will all influence you in drawing your diagram. That's why you have to draw it yourself. Nobody can draw it for you. If someone else draw it for you, there's going to be chaos. Chaos in the sense that maybe what you are trying to test or what you are trying to do it's maybe different from how I understand the whole thing. Okay, good. So this is what we called conceptual framework. Why? Because I have put concepts. The concept here is the same as construct, latent variable. These terms are the same. I have put concepts together. So this is an example of what we call conceptual framework diagram. Conceptual framework. Conceptual framework. I've put concepts together. I've tried to link the relationship between concepts. I'm saying that financial controls have impact on financial risk, and financial risk have impact on financial performance, and vice versa. I hope this is clear. So this is an example of what we call conceptual framework. Now let me come to the arrows. So when I was explaining, I made mention of the arrows. Okay, so the arrows, this straight line or direct lines, that relation is what we normally term them as hypothesis, or that's what is normally captured as our hypothesis. The arrows, the straight lines, is what we captured as hypothesis. The relationship is what we capture as hypothesis. So here, I can hypothesize that financial controls influence financial risk. It could be positive, it could be negative. I can say financial controls influence financial risk positively. And that's going to be my first hypothesis. So if I'm going to put them down, hypothesis, you can just write H and put your hypothesis, or you can write H naught. And so for whatever you want to write, I'm just going to write H. So hypothesis, my first hypothesis, which is going to be hypothesis 1, is saying that financial controls influence financial risk. Depends on what you want to say. I personally, I think I've mentioned this before. Personally, I prefer to leave it as it is, whether positive or negative. I would just use the term influence or impact or something, and leave it as that, instead of saying it's influenced positively or negatively. I personally prefer to go to the PLS Smart PLS or Emos or any of the SEM software, run the data, and then I use the outcome to say that this has impact or this does not have impact on so and so, and then even the level of impact, or the extent of impact and all that. Okay, good. So that is the first one. So once you put that, you come and put it on the arrow, on the yes, the arrow. So you just have to add well, if it doesn't work, if there's nothing to, because normally when you click on this arrow, it's supposed to give you an opportunity to write on it. But if it's not working, you can just look for one of the things and just put something small. I mean, here you can just put something here on the arrow and just say H1. Yeah, find a way to capture it. So you put your H1 on it. H1 representing what? This one. This hypothesis. Now I go to H2. So H2, I'm going to say that financial risk has impact on financial performance. So that's going to be my H2. Financial risk. So where the arrow is pointing to financial risk, influence financial performance. And definitely my A3 is also going to be financial controls, influence or impact financial performance. So that's going to be my third one. Okay, so the same. So you do the same thing to put so this is going to be okay. I hope you are following. What about Sharon?
Yes, Doctor, I'm following.
Okay. Yeah. So this is A3. In case you have a question, please let me know so that I go back to help. Then I'll put this one here. So on this is going to be so this is going to be my A2. Yeah. So are we all good? So this is I've designed my conceptual model showing the relationship between the key constructs. Okay. Good. So those of you who are using like factors and barriers, last week I made mention that you need to first run exploratory factor analysis. And based on the exploratory factor analysis, you get what we call the principal components, which are the principal groups. So those principal groups will become your latent variables. If you run an EFA, exploratory factor analysis, and you get 5 components, the 5 components will become your what? Your latent variables. And these 5 components, try to draw something to show the relationship between them. To show the relationship between them. Okay, good. I'll come come there, or I will assist you if you contact me. I mean, those of you whose work is more like you don't have this thing already. Okay, great. So that's the thing. Then another relationship that I have not shown here is mediation. There is a mediator. A mediator means if, for example, somebody moved from financial controls, and then they want to pass through financial risk to financial performance, there is a mediator. The mediator here is the financial risk because if you are moving from financial controls, first your first destination will be financial risk, and from financial risk you move to financial performance. Therefore, here we are having a mediator. So somebody like, I think, Sharon and Debbie and co, that you have mediators or moderators. This is just one example of a mediator. So here we are going to have a fourth hypothesis. Is going to say that financial risk mediates between financial controls and financial performance. So the fourth hypothesis is that financial risk, which is in the middle, mediator, the middleman, the middle person, sits between financial controls and financial performance. Because if I want to move based on the arrow, you can't do the same for the opposite, because the opposite will not work. Because remember, if you are moving from financial risk to financial controls, everything ends here. But here the arrow is not opposite. If the arrow was to point to the financial controls, then the financial performance will be a mediator. But here the arrow, they all end here. They're all pointing to the side. But here, moving from financial controls, your first stop will be financial risk. And from financial risk, the arrow will point to financial performance. And therefore, financial risk in this context become a mediator. So that is the word mediation or mediator, which we will later on test. Great. There's a last one I want to add, and it is called, actually two, but two. Some of them are controlled, because I know some of you are ultra finance, not only finance bias, but even other analysis that you do, quantitative econometrics and other constants. You normally come across the word control variables. Control variables. How do you show control variables in your conceptual framework? Conceptual framework. How do you show that? Okay, so please, today, everyone, try to bear with me, because I just want to tackle this issue once and for all, so that we go. So nobody should be in a rush. I know it's a bit late. It's already 10, but let's try and do up to 11. So everyone try and be online. Don't sleep. Don't drop out, drop off. Just be online and listen, because this is one of the most important parts of your work. Once you get this, because after this, I'm going to do theoretical framework. I want to do, if somebody is using theoretical framework, how do you go about it? Because this is conceptual framework. What I'm showing you right now is those of you who are going by the conceptual framework, where you have concepts, or you have a component from exploratory or confirmatory factor analysis. So I'm dealing with conceptual framework right now. I'll come to deal with theoretical framework, where you take a theory, either you modify or you just work with the same thing. So I'll come there soon. Now the next one is what we call mediator. A moderator. A moderator is something that tries to kind of either minimize, either one, it could be minimize, increase, or kind of manage. Let me put that word is better. Manage the relationship between two constructs. So if you have something like a mediator, which I'm going to show you one right now, and you want to show it on your conceptual framework, try to use a different shape. Use a different shape. So here I'm going to use the oval or the circle. So let's assume that I'm trying to moderate, like the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Ghana, moderator. Just an example, please. I'm just saying that. It's not, so like, let's say this is a moderator. A moderator. So it depends on what you want to moderate. So it depends on, because moderators are not supposed to moderate all the relationship, maybe one or two, or if it is all, that's fine. But here I'm just going to show you one. But if you have so many relationships that you want to moderate, that's also up to you. But I'm just showing you one. So I want to moderate the relationship between financial controls and financial performance. Therefore, I have to put my shape somewhere here. Good. Once I put my shape here, now I'll draw the arrow. I'll show the arrow. Showing that. So it's like this. It's going to be like this. Okay. So what could be? So here I'm just going to give one. Maybe what can moderate between this relationship is maybe I'm just saying maybe. I'm just giving an example. Good leadership, good organizational leadership, or leadership commitment.
Corporate governance.
Or corporate governance or something. Yes. Good. That's a good example. Thank you. Or corporate governance could be a moderator. Right? So you show this. Sorry that this thing is not coming out. But let me reduce. Or corporate governance. Or anything. So somebody like, I think what's the name? Sharon. I think do you have a moderator, right? Is Sharon here?
Yes, please.
So this is an example of what we call a moderator. Something that is moderating the relation is different from a mediator. Remember, a moderator is different from a mediator, as you can see from this diagram. So check it very well. This is a moderator. A moderator moderates the relationship between two constructs or multiple constructs, depending on whatever you want to. At the same time, I can also say that the same leadership commitment also moderate. I can also say the same, if that's what you want to show. That's also moderate maybe the relationship between this and that. Or it's also maybe choose, it's also moderate. It's up to you, because I don't want to be like, and you can also have multiple moderators. And when I say you can have multiple moderators, I mean, apart from showing the moderation between these relationships, I can also have another one. I can draw another moderator somewhere and then show that maybe another moderator like maybe AI, artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence maybe moderates the relationship between this and that. Just an example, maybe AI, while leadership commitment moderates the relationship between financial controls and I can just bring it down here. I can also show it down there. It can work. It's not necessarily, it should always be closer. I can show it somewhere else. Maybe something like this. Right? So here, AI, I can see that maybe AI, artificial intelligence, moderates the relationship between financial risk and financial performance. Maybe that's it. Okay. And then it's also comes with a hypothesis as well. So you have to state it as well. That hypothesis. AI moderates the relationship between financial risk and financial performance. Then I also state that leadership commitment moderate the relation between financial controls and so please, any of the relationship that you state, when we check your conceptual framework, we must see that it is there. So here I have to put something here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like anybody who will check your work or your distance must be able to. So with the H4, this one being moderator and all that, like if I check, if you say something and I check your work, that it must be seen in the diagram, or it must be there to show that what you are saying is indeed. So don't state hypothesis out of the blue or out of nowhere, but it must be stated based on the diagram that you have. Please, are we all good? We are all okay. Now let me talk about the control variables. So the control variables, normally the control variables in most cases work just like the moderators, but normally the control variables target specific constructs. To those of you, but I don't think in this work, I don't know anyone who has control variables in their destiny. Solomon, do you have control variables? I don't think so. It specifically targets one of the variables.
I included some demographic characteristics which I tend to use as controls later in the analysis. Let me just ask this: the moderator in my model, for example, using the leadership commitment here as a moderator between the H3, and also try to test the direct relationship between the moderator and the outcome variable. So, for example, have another hypothesis, an arrow from leadership commitment here down to the financial performance, which is the outcome variable. Is that acceptable? Using that one as a model, and still find out whether if it has
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what we call the control variables. So what you have done, if you are showing, for example, this to this,
yes,
yeah, this is what we call the control variable. So in that case, in SEM analysis, those things are called control variables. Where you target, where your other features or characteristics or whatever are targeting a specific construct. In that case, it becomes the control variables in SEM analysis. So you can be tested and it's allowed. Yeah, you're allowed to test it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So that's what we call the control variables, where you specifically target one of the constructs. So in this case, if I have any characteristics like what he has just mentioned, Solomon has mentioned, like age, sex, gender, and the rest. If these are my control variables, then specifically they are targeting financial performance. So in this case, they become the control variables of financial performance. And I have to state it also in my hypothesis too. That would become like hypothesis 8. Also, depending on what you are looking at. Are we all good? Great. Now let me help you out with something because of time. Yeah, please ask a question. Then we go. Ask your question, please go ahead.
Yeah. This is a hypothesis. In the case of using objectives and not hypothesis. How will this apply?
I put objectives in SEM analysis. Remember, I told you that the word objective.
Okay.
Okay. Come again, so that explain it well.
Maybe you are using different model. Then you are using
like model like what?
Model, let's say ARD model. You are not using or you're running with your ARD, and you're not using hypotheses, by using objectives. And if you are drawing conceptual framework with that, will this be applicable? Because you are drawing, indicating the hypothesis 1, 2, 3 on the conceptual model. So in the case of objectives, not hypotheses. I don't know whether I'm not making sense there.
Yeah, I get you, but remember you are dealing with a different thing altogether, so you have to be very careful.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to really apply some. I understand where you are coming from, and I get that, like, you are using ARDL models and maybe panel regression and all that. Yes, they all have. I mean, it's the same idea, but at the end of the day, as we say, when you go to Rome, do what the Romans do.
Okay.
Right? So once you are dealing with SAM, I would suggest you just go by what the SAM require. I get where you are coming from. I understand. I've done the same thing in my past studies, running panel regression, ARDL, and all that, where you have to develop a conceptual framework. But I would strongly suggest you follow the SAM approach. Or in SAM, what are the terms? What do you need and all that? Because if you don't do that and you try to put the two together, you're going to be confused. But remember, ARDL models have their requirements. The things that you are supposed to do, the things that even though, yes, your framework can have a framework like this and all that, but please stick to the SAM approach and go by the SAM. Yeah, probably in future I will teach you the idea, but for now, and I think it's one of the challenges that I think even from the beginning, Solomon also had that probably had the same, and some of the students have the same thing, had the same challenge. They're trying to learn SAM and looking at what you know from finance and construction management and statistics and mathematics and all that, but just stick to what the SAM requirement asks you to do. I think you are going to be okay.
All right.
To conflate or trying to put the two together, because I know what you are talking about, and the two are different. Different in a sense that ARDL, you need certain things to be done. Yes, they follow the same, because at the end of the day, whether you are running a panel regression, ARDL, you are running whatever model, you still have to come up with either a conceptual or theoretical framework, but the end results are not the same. Yeah, so just put them like that. So with this, what I would say is that, one, have your objectives stated, either one or two objectives. And then out of that, draw the conceptual theoretical framework. And based on the theoretical or conceptual framework, go ahead and test. Yeah, we are just following the same. Please. So everyone, pardon me if, like, because I mean things from other areas, and I just don't want to confuse people. Yeah, we are just following what the same asks us to do. Okay, so that's it. So now let me go into something quickly. Then I'll go to the theoretical framework so that we end. The next important thing is, now we have our hypothesis. But the question that somebody will ask is, if you say financial controls, what is it? If you tell me financial control, what is it? That will lead us to what we call indicators. And to me, the best approach, all these concepts and framework and all that we have drawn, the best approach when you are undertaking your research, a very good research, especially those of you who are doing masters and PhD, is do this part first before you even develop your questionnaire. But in our case, we developed the questionnaire first. So we are trying to work backwards. But the best approach is that these things must be done first before you even try to go and design your questionnaire, because it's out of this thing that you just you copy the same construct information and then you put them into your questionnaire. It's based on this that will shape your questionnaire as to what will go into your questionnaire. So those of you who are undertaking your master's and PhD, take note. This is something that you have to do first. Literature review, and then you come up with these relationships before you go into the development of questionnaires. You can't do the opposite, because if you do the opposite, normally the problem is that coming back to make changes to your questionnaire is difficult. If you have already distributed your questionnaire and maybe you come and draw this and now you are seeing different relationships and all that, it's going to be difficult for you to go back and tell the respondents that you are changing certain things in your questionnaire. So do this first. So indicators, let me go straight. So indicators, what is indicators? The indicators are what we call the measurement items. So some of you have been hearing and seeing the word measurement items. What is it? These things either represent or measure or help us to know that all these constructs or latent variables or concepts, they tend to be more hidden. They are not seen, quote unquote, theoretically. So what will help us to know financial controls? So if you are talking about financial control, what is it? So maybe financial controls could be like, I can say financial controls like what? A monitoring system. What are other financial controls? You can also put them in statement. My manager always check on me. I have a supervisor. I clock in and out. I send performance reports. What other controls? Like we have CCTV cameras monitoring us. So these indicators, you can either state them as phrases or you can state them as statements. So some of the measurement items or controls or indicators in this context can be stated in the form of statement, phrases, or they can even come in the form of just a word, depending on whatever you are looking at. So you can state all these things. But the question is, where do you get these measurement items or indicators from? So if you remember, when I was explaining how to develop a questionnaire, I told you that you can take what we call validated measurement items. When we say validated measurement items, it means that you look up to previous studies, previous research, papers which have been published, how they captured the term financial controls. So if you check previous studies, past studies, they have already measured, they have already put out information about what constitutes financial controls. You can pick the same thing from them and use them for your study. So we call that validated. So some of you were asking me, Doug, what is validated items, validated indicators, validated items? It's just you looking up to what people said about a certain construct. So if it is artificial intelligence, people have already put out information about how to measure artificial intelligence or what represents artificial intelligence. You can take the same thing and use it for your work. You can also develop your own, just like what I'm putting out here. So you can either take a validated measurement items, indicators, and apply the same to your work, or you can make some small changes. Or what you can do is that you can decide to develop your own from the scratch. So in this case, I have 6 indicators. So all these 6 indicators, they are measuring what? Financial control. Now I come to financial risk. So financial risk too, you need to find out what and what represent financial risk. So what are some of the things that we can talk about? Overspending. I'm just saying things. I'm just putting down something. Overspending. Good.
Gambling, or let's say lotto.
Yeah, gambling. Yes, that's good. Any other? Expensive. Increase wages. Pay more taxes. Cost overruns. Listen, so these things, just that, please, these are examples. I'm not saying that they are exactly what you see out there, but these are just examples. So these things represent financial risk. And these are what we call the indicators or measurement items for financial risk. So I have 5 for that. Now I go to financial performance. So when I say, if somebody say financial performance, what represents financial performance? Maybe I would say increase net revenue. I mean, this is not a good time for expenditure, but any other thing that represents financial performance? But
The ROE, and those things. Return to assets. Yeah, those are financial terms.
Yeah.
Stock profit. Profitability. Yeah,
yes.
dividend yield. Dividend payout, dividend yield.
Yeah. And then, okay, so let's assume that these are things that represent my financial performance. So these become the measurement. As I said, for you to make this thing easy, just look up to previous studies, or you can just do a Google search. You will see all these things there, right? Now I'm developing something. I'm helping you out so that I'm helping those of you who are doing masters, especially in PhD, because I know that. Okay, good. So you have all these things, right? Now, what next? The next thing is to help know what these things represent. So I want to take you back to my work so that the thing will be easier because of time. So in my work, I had this table. Yeah, so I had this table. Even though the table is a bit some way. Can you see? It's a bit. So I had to to take financial risk. Can you see all the financial risk?
Yeah.
So first you put a code. What is a code? You just giving them like numbers or giving them some terms or some serial numbers. And then you put the names of the indicators there. The financial risk was the latent variable, and these were the indicators. Then you just give a brief explanation of what they are, and if possible, references. And then how are you going to measure them? What is the measurement? How are you measuring them? But in many cases, measurement time, how you are measuring them is not that important, because when you put them in the questionnaire, definitely you are going to use the Likert scale to measure 1 to 7 or 1 to 9 or 1 to 5. So this one, even though I put this one here, but it's not that important. You can just do the coding, and that will bring us to the table. And that table is the same thing that you also take to what? To your questionnaire. So we have developed a questionnaire already. So here, let me take it one after the other. So in terms of So this become maybe a quick. This become my code or serial number, and then the latent variable, same as construct, and then the indicators, which is the same as the measurement item. So this is what I wanted you guys to do, which I said either you can decide to put this measurement items and whatever table either in the literature review, or you can put it in the methodology section. In the methodology section. And then you adjust two things. You can decide to describe, give a brief description of each of the indicators if you want to, but it's not compulsory. You can decide to do that, or you can go straight to the references, and that will be the end of this table. So what are you going to put here in the table? Very simple. You take the first construct, which in this case financial controls. So I'm just going to give it a code FC. So all financial controls, I'm going to call them FC. Right? So the FC, what are the FCs that I have? I have 6. So you just copy your financial controls and you just bring them here. Right. And you extend the table. Okay, so if you have sources, in other words, where did you get a monitoring system? You can do one after the other, or you can just decide if you pick all of them from a validated source, you just collapse this section and put a source there. Like maybe you pick it from maybe my study. All these indicators, you pick them from my study, you collapse this section and then you put the source there. So if maybe you pick all, or if it's this one after the other. Now, once we are done with this, you go to the next one. So I think I made a mistake. I should have started the thing from this one from there. I can put the serial numbers. So this will become the FC1, FC2, FC3, FC4, FC5, FC6. You do the same for the next construct, which in this case is financial risk. So financial risk, I will put FR. Yeah, then I'll copy all the financial risk thing and then add them as my indicators. So here, from here, I'll show you that you can send these items. Let's do the right thing. Yeah, so I hope you understand what I'm doing. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
it's everything there and the references, put them there. So the next thing, if you were to develop a questionnaire, right, you would just copy these items and put them into your questionnaire. How do you do that? You can have a section only for financial controls. And then with your Likert scale of 1 to 5, your Likert scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, you measure only the measurement items for financial controls. And then with your Likert scale of either 1 to 5, 1 to 7, whatever, you do the same thing for financial risk. So you can have 3 sections in your questionnaire, which will talk about financial risk, financial controls, and financial performance. In other words, you have to repeat the same thing in your conceptual or theoretical framework in your questionnaire. That's the best approach. And that's the reason why I said that. If you don't have this part done well, you're going to have issues with your questionnaire. And if you do somebody will say nyama nyama or whatever question, whatever conceptual framework or theoretical framework, is going to have a negative impact on your questionnaire design. Yeah. So everything, they go together. They all go together. Because your questionnaire cannot be different and all that. So for those of you who have already developed your questionnaire, what you have to do is that you have to go back. So somebody like Sharon, somebody like Debbie, somebody like Thomas, somebody like everyone here, go back and go and pick your questionnaire, the questionnaire that you are distributing. Try to tease out the construct, if there is. If you need support, let me know. Please, here we are serious. Everyone, that's why I'm going to give you a long break of 2 weeks. If you need support, reach out to me and let's discuss. That'll help you out, because you need to, this time around, we are working backwards, because the best approach is we should have started from here from day one. Day one, when we started this work, this is where we should have started from. But because of getting data, it will take a longer time. That's why I made us start from questionnaire. Because even now, so many of you have still not made, you have not made much progress concerning the number of questionnaire responses. So if you imagine we are now going to distribute our questionnaire and look for responses, it will be more. That's why I made us start from there. But the best approach, the best way to go about this whole thing is to start from here. This is the starting point. After your literature review, this is the starting point. You develop this, and it's the same thing that you develop here that you transfer into your questionnaire. Because these are the things that you're going to measure. These are the things that people have to respond on. And based on their responses, you use them to run the data. So I hope this is clear, right? Is there anyone who has a question on this? So I've captured this, and then the measurement items and all that. So this one, financial risk, financial controls, financial performance. Please, these are not the only items that must come into your table. Also, you need to also have indicators for AI. What do you mean by AI? What represents AI? So all the moderators, if you have moderators and control variables, they must also appear on the table with the indicators. Because if you say AI, what is the meaning of AI? They must have indicators. If you say, let's say age, sex, gender, what is it? Are they going to be dummy? Dummy means one or zero. Dummy, is it a dummy variable or binary, whatever? What kind of variable is it? Show all that in the table. Leadership commitment. What are the indicators? What are you using to represent leadership commitment? They must be in the table. So within the table, all the things that we can see in this diagram, they must be in this table. And then with their indicators. So I've shown you one, for example, the financial controls, the 6. And then you show us where you got them from. Financial risk, you do the same. Financial performance, you do the same. AI is on this. It's a moderator here. What is AI? What are the indicators? Age, what are the indicators? Leadership commitment, what are the indicators? They must all be on this table. Everything here in this diagram must be in this table with indicators helping us to understand that this is what this is representing. Okay, that's it. Good. Now, the last part, before anybody will come in and ask a question, and then I'll quickly move on to the theoretical framework, and then we end because we have about 30 minutes more. Now, the most important part that I think over the years people have had issues is how to explain this. Now, this is where you have to explain, and this is where the explanation comes in. Now, you are saying financial controls influence financial risk. How? Based on what? How did you know that? What is supporting you? So this is where you have to go back. Two things. Either you state the hypothesis first and go and look for literature to come and support you, or you go and check literature and argue, and then you end up by stating the hypothesis. But the best approach over the years is that you start with literature, you make your case, you argue. So you can say that maybe Solomon 20. So this is where you need to do some reading and then put some things out. So it says Solomon 20:24 mentioned that financial controls such as monitoring system over the years have had impact in reducing financial risk, and therefore financial risk controls impact financial. But I mean, it's not only, we don't state only one paper. You state a number of studies. So you say Solomon mentioned that financial controls are good. When you put financial controls, it will lead to you installing CCTV cameras, and these CCTV cameras, it will check people, their movement, how they eat at the workplace, how they talk, how they chat, how they do this and do that, and so and so. And therefore, you hypothesize that financial controls indeed have impact on financial performance. That's it. And that would be the first one. So you argue, how many? To me, if each hypothesis you write about 200 to 300 words for each of them arguing, I think that would be great. Okay. Now you move on to the second hypothesis. Now you come to financial risk influence financial performance. You say, okay, financial risk, according to Emmanuel Awuji, 2021, overspending, gambling, increased wages, paying more taxes, cost overruns, so and so over the years have had impact on project spending or project outcomes. Therefore, you hypothesize that finance. So you are using what, so that's what you said, I would just said, because you are using what people have done. That's where you have to do some reading, because that's you are arguing, and your argument should not be hollow or should not be like vague without it's not holding water. It doesn't, you don't have anything to support it. But your argument must be based on what people have done in the past. It is literature, based on what you have read, based on some report, based on UN something, based on Ghana Statistical Service, based on this, based on that. And then you hypothesize that based on all these things that people have done there, you hypothesize that so and so have so and so on so and so. Now we go to finance, you do the same, so about 200 to 300 words. You do the same thing for the third one. You talk about it. So and so financial controls over the years have had impact on financial performance, so and so. Then you argue, then you hypothesize. Now mediator, you also look for a study. Say that so and so has. If you for this part, if you want to read, just read the paper I shared with you last week on climate risk and PPP project. Yeah, managing climate risk. That's that PLS paper. That I did some explanations. You can check, or can do your own explanation. So here, the explanations will be done by you, and you are making these arguments. You are putting the explanations out there based on what you have read, based on some papers that you have read. Okay, you do the same. When it comes to the moderators, the same. If it's a control variable, you say the same, and then you put a hypothesis. Once you finish this, you are done with conceptual framework. So you can see that all these sections is called conceptual framework. If you're already I have 200 words without even putting much into this. So this is conceptual framework. Done. Proper conceptual framework has been done. Perfect. Okay, now quickly to the next 7 minutes. Now, what is what is theoretical framework? So what is different? So with the theoretical framework, everything is the same as the conceptual framework. And the difference is that with the theoretical framework, unlike the conceptual framework where you are basing it on concepts. For the theoretical framework, you either pick one theory that supports your work or a number of theories and you combine them together. A number of theories, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 theories, or just a specific theory. But in many cases, what I have seen, many studies, they just base their theoretical framework on one specific theory, and then they modify it. But I remember some time ago, Pin, you asked me a question, can you combine 2 or 3 theories? Yes, you can combine 2 or 3 theories, acceptable. But in many cases, I've seen that the scholars just use one theory. So let me show you one. And I mean, our usual theory that we have been using throughout this thing is the theory of planned behavior. So if you take the theory of planned behavior, this is the original if you take the original theory of planned behavior, it looks like this, which was put out by the scholars in 1991. This is the thing. Okay, so with this one, the theory and the framework, including, the drawing, has already been done. And the constructs, these are the constructs, just like what we saw in the conceptual framework, where we saw the financial controls, financial risk, and financial performance. With the theory of planned behavior, if you are going to base your study, or your study is based on the theory of planned behavior, these constructs are already there. You don't need to struggle. So they are there, right? But you can modify. You can introduce another construct. So instead of attitude, subjective norm, perceive, behavioral control, behavioral intention, and behavior, you can also introduce another. And when I say another, you can add one more construct. Then you can go ahead and add your moderators. So just like how we saw it in the conceptual framework, you can add moderators. So here, who can help me to know what is the mediator here? Can somebody help me? What is the mediator? What is the mediator in this diagram? Hello?
Yeah, I think the
Hello.
behavioral intent.
Yeah, the behavioral intention. Yeah, the behavioral intention is the mediator. Great. So if you want to introduce more variables construct, you can do the same. I hope you are getting me. So with the theoretical framework, it is based on either one existing theory or maybe 2 or 3 existing theories, and then you are just modifying them to suit what you are doing. Either you introduce additional theories or additional construct, or you can take some of them out. So I can decide that maybe attitude is not important as far as this study is concerned. So I will remove attitude. So this one, it is based on something which has been done. But with respect to the conceptual framework that I drew right now, or that what we did today, or we have done so far, this is not something that I don't think, I'm not saying nobody has done something like this, but it's something that is probably, if you check the literature, you may not see this as I've done it now. It's not nowhere. I don't think if you check the literature right now, somebody has done a study that he drew something like this with all these moderators and control variables just like that. I don't think so. It's not there. So this becomes a conceptual framework. But as far as this, if you're going to use this, this is something which is already in the literature. It has been established. This is an established theory. And you are just picking it and you are modifying it. And this becomes a theoretical framework. The remaining part is the same. And when I say the remaining part, I'm talking about measurement items. So if you take attitude here, if you take attitude, the question is, what represents attitude? If you take subjective norm, what represents subjective norm? So it's the same measurement items or indicators. So that one will not change. It's the same as the conceptual, the ones in the conceptual framework, the indicators or the measurement items. Perceived behavioral control. What represents that? Behavioral intention, behavior. So it's the same when it comes to the measurement items. Now the next item, what about the hypothesis? The hypothesis too, the idea is the same. The idea is the same because here you have to hypothesize that attitude has impact or influence or relates, or whatever word that you want to use. Attitude relate to behavioral intention. One, that will be one of the hypotheses. Subjective norm has influence or has a relationship with behavioral intention. That's two. Perceived behavioral control also has influence on this. And this, or where the arrows are going. Behavioral intention has influence on behavior. That will also be another hypothesis. And then you talk about the mediator. So attitude, you say that behavioral intention mediates between attitude, subjective norm, behavioral intention towards behavior. The same as what we have stated in the conceptual framework. So if you understood the conceptual framework, the hypotheses are going to be the same. But once again, the difference is very little. And the difference is that a theoretical framework is based on what? An established theory, which the constructs are already known. People have done studies on it, it's known, it has been used, But with the conceptual framework, because it's more of like something that you are developing or something new, quote unquote, your approach is different. It's a bit different, or it's different from what people have already established. So what I know is that in studies that use theoretical framework, a lot of scholars use validated skills, because with the theoretical framework, people have done work on them over and over and over and over and over again. But conceptual framework, in many cases, conceptual framework, the indicators are new. The scholars tend to develop their own indicators from the scratch. For example, in my thesis, my research, this is my PhD in this context, I kind of developed my own indicators from the scratch, because these indicators, even though they exist in the literature, but they were not put the way I put them as far as my conceptual framework was concerned. Yes. Anyway, that's the end of the whole thing. When it comes to the table, to the same, the table, the same. It's the same thing that you put into the measurement item tables and all that. Is the same. Hypothesis is the same. Diagram. Now you have to put a diagram there. So the diagram, if you are using theoretical framework, you have to draw this same diagram. Either you are using the same, or if you are introducing a new construct, you add a construct. If you have moderators and all that, you have to just put a moderators there. I think this is easy to understand, right? Okay, so at this point that I will end, and if anybody has a question for the next 5 minutes, please, you can ask a question, or if you have a comment to pass, you can pass a comment before we go. Thank you for coming today. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, please. Are we supposed to have both conceptual framework and theoretical framework in our work?
No,
for
you
example,
are not.
if work is influenced by a certain theory, do you depend on the theory alone, or do you construct a conceptual framework based on your literature?
You are not supposed. Okay, in this context, I suggest you don't have both. there's no need to have both. If you are going
And
the conceptual
you have
framework
both.
way,
Are you taking hypothesis and measuring hypothesis for both conceptual framework and then theoretical frameworks?
no, that's why I said you don't have to have both. You need to pick
Look,
one.
if I understand him, then that becomes the modify or that Doc has just explained. So that maybe you've taken it through a planned behavior, but from literature review, you've also found something that you want to introduce, which is not part of the established theory. So you now pick this, but you add that new one and you indicate. So in some places, the people use dotted line arrows to indicate that the established theory is this, with the arrows are deep
the
line.
new items.
And I haven't read other papers. I'm introducing another construct and I put a dotted line to it. So it's not like you're doing two diagrams, one for conceptual framework and one for theoretical framework. You're actually maybe modifying the theoretical framework. I think Doc has even shown some things here. So I guess the plan behavior, someone has a dotted line there, which is a new thing the person has probably brought on board. Introduce. So that's my understanding.
Yeah, you are right. Exactly. That's the thing. So, King, you are not supposed to have the two. You have to choose one, or like you need to make up your mind as to where you want to go. If it is, you see, the two of them, to be honest, the two of them, in most cases, they are used interchangeably. I mean, that's studies where you read and the person will say conceptual framework, but when you go into it, the thing is theoretical framework, and there are certain times and situations where somebody will say theoretical framework, but when you go into the thing is conceptual. So it's about the approach. I have decided to just give you the two approaches, just for your thesis and all that, so that you understand. But any of them, you end up getting the same thing. But the little difference between them, as Solomon also rightly said, is that if you decide to say you are going theoretical framework, then we expect that we see a theory or theories.
Okay.
Either a theory or theories. And then based on the theory, you either modify the theory, the theoretical framework, or the theory. Either you add something or you take something out, and you continue with your work.
Okay.
While the conceptual framework, from what I've done and from what I know and what I've done over the years, it's more like flexible, open. You don't have to base on any specific theory. It's more like the conceptual framework is more like something which is open. I mean, you can just get up and just put anything together and try to then test them. But for the theoretical framework, you are a little bit restricted because it's either you take one or two theories and modify them by taking some of the construct out, or you add something new to them.
My next question is where, please forgive my background, I'm driving home. In situations where you are using structural equation modeling for your analysis, you need to test your conceptual framework.
Yeah, actually, that's the foundation of the work. That's the main work that we are doing is based on conceptual theoretical framework. Without that, you don't have any work that you are doing. That's the reason why I said we should have done this from day one.
Okay.
Yeah, but the reason why I decided to start with the questionnaire, which many of you will later on appreciate, is that if I was to start with the conceptual framework or theoretical framework and help you develop, learn all these things and go through all that we have gone through till now, and it's maybe now that you are going to design your questionnaire to put them out and then go and collect data, then we will need maybe an additional 3 months.
Okay, or you may have a variable that you would not measure in your questionnaire, but at the end of the
Exactly. So that's the thing. But The foundation, what I'm trying to say is that the foundation of this structural equation modeling, and even not only structural equation modeling, but I would say most studies, majority, most studies, especially quantitative studies, your foundation is this part. And that's why everybody should you have to do your best and quote unquote kill yourself and get this part well. Once you grasp this part, it will take some time. I know some of you, it will take some time, but keep on learning. Keep on. You may not even get it even now in this work, but if you keep on learning and learning and then you grasp this part of your work, you have won the battle, quote unquote, because this is the foundation. Because this is what you have to test. This is what you are going to test. This is what we are going to test at the end of the day. So if your foundation is not good, if you are building a house and your foundation is not good, then the building is going to collapse at the end of the day. So your conceptual or theoretical framework must be sound.
Okay.
Because it's what we will later on come back after we have run the data. We'll come back to check whether what we put into our conceptual framework or theoretical framework, we have met them or we have not, because this is the foundation. So this part is extremely important. That's why I decided to dedicate today to make sure people get this part. Because if this part, you don't get this part, and this part is not sound, you don't have a work. And anybody who is going to examine your work, review your work, will just take your work and throw it away. Because you don't have a foundation, you don't have a conceptual model or theoretical model. What? Because it is this part that we get to know hypothesis. So imagine you running a structural equation modeling without hypothesis. Then the question is, what are you testing? What hypothesis or what are you testing? Because this is the foundation. Yeah. So please, everyone, do this video. I prefer people watch it over and over and over if you really want to learn, unless maybe you don't want to learn. But if you really want to learn, I want people to be learning, watching this video over and over and over. And once you get this part, trust me, you have won the same thing. the same, not only same, even those who are doing regression, panel regression and all that, if you learn and get this part very well, it's going to help you a lot. But this is very important. It's out of this that we get our hypothesis. And it's out of hypothesis, that's what we have to test. That's the hypothesis that we have to test. Yeah, any other person?
Doc, please, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, is there a limit on the number of hypotheses that you can have?
No, there's no limit. Okay, that's a very good question. There's no limit. But the reason why we try as much as possible to encourage people to limit the hypothesis is that as you put in too many hypotheses, it's likely you are going to have issues. Okay, because some of them will overlap, some of them they are the same, some of them is like it's almost the same thing that you are repeating and you are testing it over and over again. So you can keep them simple and straightforward, but you are allowed to keep as many as you can. There's no limit. Yeah, there's no limit. As many as you can. So if you can test 50, 100, that's even the reason why we have structured equation modeling, because all other models, especially regression, path analysis, and factor analysis and other models, they tend to be more like standalone, or you just look at one relationship at a time. But one good thing about structural equation modeling is that it gives you the opportunity to test many hypotheses, many variables, many relationships at the same time. That's one positive thing about the SEM. So to answer your question once again, no, there's no limit. You can test as many hypotheses as you want to test. Many.
Please, then, hypothesis. Is there a number that can go on the conceptual framework?
A number, like give me an example.
Like the one on your screen right now.
Yeah.
You see, we have H1, H2, H3. There are just three of them that are placed on the relationships. Can there
Yeah.
be
Oh,
like
but I mean, I didn't put the other ones because I can put them like probably I get what you are saying, or if or not. Like the H5, H6. Why are
yeah?
they not here? You have to put them there. I didn't put them because of.
Okay. Because I saw an
So you
article
have
where
to.
they placed most of the hypotheses on the framework.
Yeah, you have to. You have to put all of them, actually, not even most of them, but like the best approach is put all of them there. But I decided not to put them there because of the time and how we're going about things. So you
Oh,
have to. It's actually you have to put them. That's the best approach.
yes,
Okay, the
please.
best approach is to put all of them on the the hypothesis, the hypothesis 1, 2, 3, whatever. Put all of them there. Yeah. That's the best approach, so that anybody who will just pick your diagram will get to know that, okay, this is the relationship between this is the relationship between that, this is the relationship between this. Yeah, so you have to put all of them on the diagram. Okay, any other person with a question? There's something I wanted to show. Not show, but I mean, if you have access to it, it's called Microsoft Visio. Visio. So those of you who have access to Visio, Visio is a platform that can give you the opportunity to draw your Visio can give you the opportunity to draw these diagrams. Okay, so if you have access to, I guess not everyone has access to Visio, but if you have access to Visio, please use Visio. I have, but I guess many of you don't. And also, if those of you who have access to what we call Canva, if you have access to Canva, the Visio will give you a better that gives like better diagrams, or help you to draw better diagrams.
Okay, Doc.
Okay.
There's also an app I'm using on my Mac. It's called ClickChat. It's also a very good
Okay.
app.
Yeah. So
So,
if you can use that, that's great. So use if you have any software, any app that can help you to draw the diagrams, to me, use them. That makes it easier and better. But if you don't have any of them, use the normal what I've done with you. You can do it. Just take your time. Like if you don't have all these softwares or apps or whatever, just do this. But when you are drawing, take your time and draw it nicely. Because some of you, I saw your diagrams, and some of them, the arrows are like circle, like somebody like Thomas. Some of your arrows, instead of straight line, they are looking like circle, and one is looking in the east, one is looking on the looking towards north. Yes. Please take your time, draw it nicely, let it come out. Take your time, just like what I have done today. As you can see on the diagram on the screen, this look nice, right? Take your time. If you don't have all these software, you can use your Microsoft Word. Let's come to shapes. You can draw them. But if you have access, I'm just saying, if you have access, in case you have access to that, you can use. Okay, good. So on this note, I'll bring the meeting to an end. And if anybody has a question, you can ask me. Also, I want to say this: as we are going to, we are taking a break for 2 weeks, and within these 2 weeks, use it to address all the comments on your work, and also use it to shape all the sections. And when I say shape the sections, just work on your sections. And if you have any issue, please get to me, because when we meet in the 3rd week from now, because next week will not meet, the following week will not meet. The next week is 27th. The following week will be on the 4th. We'll not meet. We'll rather meet on the 11th. When we meet on the 11th of July, it's going to be smart PLS data analysis. That's what we are going to do. And at that, when you are coming to the meeting that time, come with your data. Come with your data. Come with your data. Or even if your data or your machine is not ready, the responses that you put out there must be ready by then, so that you can come and watch and do the same thing whilst the teaching or the analysis is going on, or immediately after the class, you can also go and run your work, run your data, get the results, and then we move from there. So we are taking a break for 2 weeks. We'll come back with the analysis. So please do this. Get your data ready. I'm pleading with everybody. Get your data ready. And then when we meet in the 3rd week, I'll help you out, download the Smart PLS and install it. I'll show you how to download, install, and then we run. So within this period, if you have any issue with your conceptual framework, if you have any issue with the introduction, if you have any issue with your methodology, this is the time. Let's all listen to this and do this. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I think at this point, there's no question or comment. It's been a great time. Once again, I want to encourage everyone, watch this video over and over and over and over again. If you really want to get the same goal, this is the foundation of science. Watch it over and over and over again and grasp this path. Okay, thank you for coming. Have a great night. Good night. See you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Take care.